Hi everyone, Simon here with a review of Beyond Blue. Beyond Blue is a gorgeous single-player narrative adventure that's available for PS4 as you see on your screens, but also Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, mobile and Apple Arcade. And it all takes place under the sea. Took me ages to get that reference in. Eline Media, who are the people that made this game, are forging a really interesting and invigorating way of doing edutainment, which is where you can place a game together but you'll be learning alongside it. Their previous game, Never Alone, did this with native Alaskan people. So you had a 2D puzzle platformer, very engrossing story, and it would walk you through unlocking like pieces of a documentary and artifacts that you could go through, or writings ups of stories and fables that are passed down through generations. All of that became like an encyclopedia that you could then dive into on the side, but you still had a game to play at the same time. Beyond Blue does this again, but teams up with the people behind Blue Planet, the BBC documentary, and also Ocean X Media, who deal with big deep sea diving. And they have a fascinating YouTube channel if you are interested into this and want to check it all out. Think of it a bit like SpaceX, but instead of going up, we go down. Between them, they've come together with this Beyond Blue experience where you control Mirai, a diver who is released from all of the trappings of diving. You don't need to breathe necessarily or worry about oxygen tanks, don't need to worry about pressures. All you need to worry about is being able to move around and swim freely around all of the animals who will act like you just aren't there. They may kind of scurry away from you if you come at them a bit too quick, but they aren't going to attack you, and you will have no violence during the course of this gaming experience. It is all about learning. So Mirai, along with a couple of other people, Andre and Irina mostly, form a diving expedition team. And between the three of you, you'll interact in between dives and during dives to try and scan different objects, different animals, but also foliage as well sometimes, to progress the story as you track a family of sperm whales across 8 dives. Those dives take place in about 5 different areas, but each area has, if you go back to it, takes place at a different time of day. And what you'll find is that as you scan animals and find out more about them, you start to understand some of their life cycle patterns. So some of them will be in the sunlight during the day, but then they won't come out at night, so they won't be around. Some of them will want to feed at night, so you might only get to see certain behaviour at certain times. And all of this is programmed into Beyond Blue. And in terms of the way how you swim around and feel like you're in full fluid motion, this game rivals Abzu in just being really pleasing to move around. It's very forgiving too, so you don't need to be spot on. However, you do need to kind of be around the right marks on occasions for when you're scanning stuff. Scanning takes place very much like if you was using a sniper rifle. I know it's a terrible analogy to make, but you have a circular focus, and so long as an animal stays within that limit and it's close enough to you, you just press and hold the trigger button and it will scan it and release all of this information. When you've then scanned an animal, it stays scanned for the rest of the game. So you'll be kind of coming back to animals at later points and thinking, oh, they've moved over there now, or they're doing something different, or you can unlock different behaviour. And although you can't necessarily name them all, I started to find that I was looking out for certain types of animals in certain environments, and then going back to see what they were up to. And there is nothing wrong with just sitting and chilling out. When you complete the game, you unlock free dive, which means that you don't have to do anything specific in the environments that you've already dived into. You can just swim around, discovering some of the animals that may have eluded you in the first playthrough. I know I had plenty. And just chill out in the environment. Great fun. The story itself is really well put together as well, and excellently voiced by the 4 voice actors that were taking place. I didn't realise until afterwards the lady that plays Irina was Mira Furlan, who was, of course, a certain lady trapped on an island in Lost for a very long time. So that's the kind of voice acting calibre that you're expecting here. The game also comes with lots and lots of unlockables as you go along, as it talks about different ways how we explore and understand ocean wildlife, but also the ecosystem of oceans and how that interacts with the world, and also how humans are interacting and changing the ecosystem for better, for worse, mostly for worse to be honest, but also how our measurements of all of this is improving with science and data over time so that we can be less intrusive in the types of things that we do. All of this comes out in about a 35-minute documentary that you'll unlock in bite-sized pieces as you go along, and that's all really fascinating. Every time you unlock or scan a new animal, it will also be included in your encyclopedia of animals that you can then bring up and kind of 360 rotate and examine around. The more of them that you uncover of a certain type of animal, and it will tell you how many of each animal are in the game, you will also start to unlock different behaviour that you can see, the traits of all the things that I was talking about earlier, about when they come out at night, in the day, what depth do they sit in the ocean at, that type of thing. But I just found that really, really insightful as well. The other thing that I would really recommend you to do is check out some of the licensed soundtrack that's on there as well. It's a complete collection of different artists, but they all are good fun and really fit the experience. And because there's a bit of a Maori, tinge to Mirai and everything that's going on, there is a Maori slant to a lot of the music as well, which I'm always a big fan and proponent of. If you like Maori culture, I definitely recommend the film Whale Rider, which would play into this. Now, I zoomed through Beyond Blue because I was so engrossed and I adored everything about it. However, I do think that some people will be slightly disappointed about the gameplay cycle of what goes on here. Outside of scanning objects and locating tags, you will not have any other gameplay. It is a rinse and repeat job, but in different environments, learning about more things. If that puts you off and you're looking for something that's a bit more gameplay meshed up together, this has less going on in terms of scope than perhaps Abzu did. Only just, but it is noticeable. So if you struggle with the flowers, the journeys, the Abzus, and that type of etherical, minimalistic storyline where it's more about the experience and being part of something, then Beyond Blue probably isn't for you. But if you adore any of those types of games, like diving or underwater experiences, this is a no-brainer buy. Maybe I'm biased because I just absolutely fell in love with the experience from start to finish, as you'll have seen on my live stream from it last week. But yeah, Beyond Blue took my heart and ran away with it, dived it in the sea, and shoved it up a sperm whale. So loved it to bits. Any questions or comments that you have, please do leave them down below. I do get back to them all. I will have a written review of this over on higherplanegames.com, if not today, tomorrow. And yeah, this is a hidden gem. Go and seek it out. Great fun. Bye for now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.